Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshamam Krishna 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 Pahimam Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahimam. So we started this chapter last week, and we discussed about how the gopis were observing Krishna, Balaram, the cowherd boys, and the cows leaving Vrindavan for the forest for their daily duties. Looking after Krishna and Balaram, they would look after the cows. And the gopis, they particularly noticed Krishna's flute playing, and in their minds they thought Krishna to be like an actor who was playing the flute for the pleasure of everyone, but in their hearts they felt that Krishna was playing the flute exclusively for them. Okay, and they were glorifying how the way Krishna was dressed, and they were glorifying even the flute, and they were pleased that the rivers and the lakes who had raised this flute personality to be Krishna were also so glorious. Yeah. So this was like a daily occurrence in the pastimes of Krishna, and every day there was a different discussion. So this has all been compiled into this one chapter, and so it says, and another gopi said this, and another gopi said this. Every day, the gopis would glorify a different aspect of this pastime, of this daily pastime. Okay, so Prabhu, Jai Prakash Prabhu, if you'd like to start us off.
Another gopi spoke thus to her friends about Krishna. Dear friend, our Vrindavan is proclaiming the glories of this entire earth because this planet is glorified by the lotus footprints of the son of Devaki. Besides that, when Govinda plays his flute, the peacocks immediately become mad, as if they had heard the rumbling of a new cloud. When all the animals and trees and plants, either on the top of Govardhan Hill or in the village, see the dancing of the peacocks, they all stand still and listen to the transcendental sound of the flute with great attention. We think that this boon is not possible or available on any other planet. Although the gopis were village cowherd women and girls, they had extensive Vedic knowledge. Such is the effect of Vedic civilization. People in general would learn the highest truths of the Vedas simply by hearing from authoritative sources.
So in this first paragraph we're reading, the first point that's made here is how glorious Vrindavan is. Yeah, why is Vrindavan so glorious, according to the gopis? Yeah, feel free to just speak up. You don't need to. Just go ahead.
Because the place is glorified by the lotus feet of Krishna.
Yeah. So Vrindavan's glorious because Krishna's footprints are in the land of Vrindavan. And what's significant about that? Does anyone know? Or would like to guess? So this is significant because He said that one way of looking at it, there's probably many ways of looking at it. One that comes to my mind is that the river Ganges, they flow from the lotus feet of Krishna, specifically from Vamandev. So those who know the pastime of Vamandev, he begged 3 steps of land from Bali Maharaj, who was a demon king, and in those 3 steps, when someone asks you, can I have 3 steps of land, you think, okay, it's just, a few feet of land. But he, with his footsteps, took over the entire heavenly planets and all the hellish planets, and then he placed his 3rd step on the head of Bali Maharaj to conquer him as well. So everything became his. So effectively Krishna took over the whole universe, or Vamandev took over the whole universe with his footsteps. And in doing so, when he took his 1st step to the top of the universe, he pierced the shell of the universe with his toenail. And from there, from the spiritual world, descended Mother Ganga, the Ganges River. And so for that reason, it's said that the Ganges, which purifies the entire material creation, does so because of having touched the lotus feet of the Lord. So those same lotus feet, which are purifying the whole world through the Ganges, is those same lotus feet are walking here in Vrindavan. So they're saying that this is the glory of Vrindavan, that Krishna walks with his bare feet. And then the next point made is about the peacocks, okay? So what was the feature of the peacocks which the gopis discussed? There are many things about peacocks, but in this specific context, it says the peacocks became mad. Why did the peacocks become mad? And they began to dance?
Because Krishna was playing his flute.
Right. Yeah, because of hearing Krishna playing the flute, the peacocks began to dance, and peacocks, they actually dance very beautifully. And they compared that to something. What did they compare that to? When do peacocks typically begin to dance?
In the rain.
In the rain, yeah? Yeah, and it's mentioned here that when the peacock hears the first rumbling of a new cloud, so when it's just about to rain and you hear that kind of thunder sound before the rain falls, on hearing that sound the peacocks dance. So this flute of Krishna's has a different impact on the hearer, yeah. So that was similar to the peacocks hearing the sound of a rumbling thundercloud, and they became mad on hearing that sound, and they began to dance. Okay. And then their description goes on, because what happened when the peacocks began to dance? How did that influence others?
I think they all sort of shocked, so they all stand still and wait and see what's happening. It's like a warning sign, so they're like, oh, what's coming? Everything freezes, let's listen. Yeah.
Everything freezes. Yeah, that's right. So all the other animals, when they saw the peacocks dancing, they all stood still, and they all were stunned. Yeah. And they could hear then Krishna's flute playing as well. Yeah. So it's described that Krishna, he's like a blackish blue color, like a cloud, a fresh rain cloud. And his clothes, which are pitambar color, or golden yellowish color. They are like the shining lightning which comes from these clouds. And so this is what made the peacocks dance, because they saw Krishna looking like this cloud and playing his rumbling flute sound. And they began to dance. And then the other animals stopped to hear the dancing. Stopped to see the dancing and hear the playing of the flute as well, and they were stunned. Yeah. Okay, and then the third aspect of this paragraph is the knowledge of the gopis. So they're saying that we think this boon is not possible or available on any other planet. So that boon is, or that blessing that they have, is the ability to hear Krishna playing his flute. Yeah. So what does Srila Prabhupada say about? What does Srila Prabhupada comment about that?
Haribol, I'm not too sure, but this is just, I had a thought earlier and I was like, it might be a stupid question, but is the reason why this is so special is because Krishna is seen as the son of Devaki and not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's not sort of worshipped in that reverence mood. He's more worshipped as a friend and bosom buddy.
रमेश प्रफुल्ल खाए
The lotus footprints of the son of Devaki, you're referring to that?
Yeah.
So that's the significant thing, that he doesn't come in like God mode, you know?
Yeah, exactly. God, right, yeah.
Yeah. He just comes as like a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's also true.
Does that link in at all with what Prabhupada said? I don't know what it is. I'm just, yeah.
So at the end of this paragraph, Prabhupada says that the blessing of hearing Krishna's flute is not possible on any other planet. Sorry, the gopis, they say that this boon, or the hearing of Krishna's flute, is not possible on any other planet. So Prabhupada comments on this statement of the gopis. Okay. So what does Prabhupada say that about that statement? That it's not possible to hear Krishna's flute on any other planet. What does that say about the knowledge of the gopis?
They Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. That they had extensive Vedic knowledge and they knew how they had extensive Vedic knowledge.
Yeah. They had extensive Vedic knowledge. And why is that so? Do you know? Can you guess? Or anyone for that matter?
They were blessed, I guess, because they're gopis and they're part and parcel of the part and parcel of the pastimes of Krishna.
Yeah.
They're not ordinary gopis, are they? They're not ordinary souls, I mean.
That's definitely true. Yeah. But in the context of this sentence, which they say, Prabhupada says they have extensive Vedic knowledge. Yeah. And the reason that Prabhupada says that, because although they were just cowherd girls and ladies or women, they had this knowledge, this Vedic knowledge about higher planets and different living beings on different planets. You know, they had knowledge about the heavenly planets, and still they thought that they were more fortunate than even people in the heavens, because they could see Krishna, they could hear him play the flute on a daily basis. Yeah, and they could be with him in that way. So like in the general populace now, people don't really have any information about other planets, right? Life on other planets. In fact, like they say that man goes to the moon and it's just a dead planet with just dust, and there's no life there. But the Vedic version is very different. In fact, Prabhupada, the first book he wrote, does anyone know what the first book Srila Prabhupada wrote was?
Easy Journey to Other Planets or something?
That's right, yeah. So Prabhupada had written an essay called Easy Journeys to Other Planets, and that became the first little book that he published. And he wrote that at quite a controversial moment, because that was when the moon landing was going to being planned, the first moon landing, the American astronauts going to the moon. So Prabhupada was non-compromising about the truth that there is life on all the planets. It's not just our little speck in the sky, our little speck in space that's got life. And so the gopis, they also had this kind of knowledge, this Vedic knowledge that explains different life forms. Okay. So if anyone has any thoughts or comments, then please raise them. We can move on. Jay Prakash Prabhu, would you like to read on?
Yeah. Another gopi said, "My dear friends, just see the deer. Although they are dumb animals, they have approached the son of Maharaj Nand, Krishna. Not only are they attracted by the dress of Krishna and Balram, but as soon as they hear the playing of the flute, the deer, along with their husbands, offer respectful obeisances unto the Lord by looking at him with great affection. Gopis were envious of the deer because the deer were able to offer their service to Krishna along with their husbands. The gopis thought themselves not so fortunate because whenever they wanted to go to Krishna, their husbands were not very happy."
Okay, so this paragraph starts in a striking way, because starts with this point that they're just dumb animals, the deer, right? But these deer are not dumb animals. They're doing something quite unique, right? So what are these deer doing that you wouldn't see ordinary animals do?
They're offering respect to a being, like a human being. But animals don't usually do that.
Yeah, not any ordinary being though, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, they're offering their respect to Krishna. So the gopis noted that. And in fact, this is the essence of all religion, if we take from the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says that one of the most significant verses in the Bhagavad Gita is Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Mam Yaji Mam Namaskuru. That's from chapter 18, which is called the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. So Mam Namaskuru. So they're offering their namaskar, or their obeisances or their respects, to Krishna. So these are certainly not ordinary dumb animals. These deer, right? They acknowledge that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is there in Vrindavan. And this is significant because in the previous week we were discussing how any living being in Vrindavan is fully Krishna conscious. So this is a very significant thing. Not even just the people or the animals, but even the plants, and even inert objects are fully Krishna conscious. And this is the wonder of the spiritual world, that everything is conscious. This is the difference between the spiritual world and the material world in our philosophy, that the material world is full of matter or inert, unconscious objects, but the spiritual world is full of conscious objects. Right? So these deer were spiritually awakened.
Can I add something?
Yes, Prabhu.
As far as I know, Vrindavan is very special because Krishna played his flute only in Vrindavan, nowhere else.
Oh yeah, that is true, isn't it?
Not in Mathura, not in Dwarka.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That's an amazing point. So Krishna performed in his pastimes 5,000 years ago in various places, not just in Vrindavan. But one of the significant things is that he played his flute only in Vrindavan. Yeah.
And because of that, everything had been purified with a sound vibration.
Hmm.
That includes moving and non-moving.
Yeah, certainly. And we're going to read more about that soon as well. But yeah, that's definitely the case. That Krishna affected everything, everything and everyone in Vrindavan by the playing of his flute. So many times in the Sanskrit of this chapter, the word Krishna is referred to as Manohar. Yeah, Krishna is called Manohar. And that means that Krishna could actually enchant everyone. Yeah. So Krishna was able to enchant everyone by the playing of his flute, and therefore he had this name Manohar.
One more thing I like to mention, as you said earlier on, Krishna walked in Vrindavan barefoot.
Yes.
So that's why the dust of Vrindavan is very, very important for everyone.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes devotees, we ask if we have a friend, we know someone going or coming from the holy places. It's quite common that devotees say, "Oh, just bring me a little bit of dust." You know?
And we put it on our head,
Yeah.
sprinkle on our head.
Like who would ask for that, right? You're going on holiday, you know. I'm going to the Bahamas next week. Would you like anything? Postcard, some, memorabilia. I don't know what the Bahamas is famous for. Usually every place is famous for something or another, right? Sometimes people ask for, bring me a bottle of whatever it is, the local drink or something people ask for. So devotees, they say, just bring me the dust from the ground. That is enough. So what kind of place is Vrindavan, huh? Just to have the dust from the place is like the greatest thing. And with so much enthusiasm, devotees like, oh, bring me some dust. And then immediately, like, it just goes on the head. So crazy about Krishna we are. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we bring dust from Vrindavan, if you've been to Vrindavan, and give it to reception at Sorcery Temple. They keep it over there.
Yeah. Oh, you guys bring that, huh? I always go into the temple and I just put a pinch on my head. The secret's out. We know where it comes from now.
Where in Soho Street do you keep it?
It's on the reception, right?
The
In the reception.
There's
Oh,
always
right,
a
on the
little
desk.
cup or something, yeah, on the desk.
Okay,
You can ask.
You can ask.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's this little container. It's like probably this small, and it's just got some
Yeah.
dust.
Nice, thank you.
The things that we miss, huh? The little things, yeah.
Leave that whatever Maha we bring from there.
Okay. So these diyas, and then we were talking about where were we? So yeah, they're offering their obeisances to Krishna, and then we also spoke about the dust of Vrindavan. Okay. So there's another point made in this paragraph about the diyas and how it made the gopis feel. How did seeing the diyas offering obeisances make the gopis feel? Envious. That's not a spiritual quality. What's going on here? So how is it possible then that the gopis were feeling envious? One might ask. So this is actually the love of the gopis. Okay, their deep love. So envy isn't considered to be a very glorious quality, right? Some might say that it's not a very glorious quality. So then, if the gopis are considered the greatest devotees of Krishna, why do they have this envy? Someone may ask this question.
Yeah, but this is transcendental, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. So this is a spiritual in nature. And so the acharyas, they explain in this way that if you have ice, for example, you have ice which is very cold, a slab of ice, yeah, And I think this comes from Jiva Goswami, that if you have this slab of ice and you touch it and you have to hold it, right? If it's very cold, it doesn't feel very cold. It actually feels very hot. You know? Have you ever experienced that when you touch ice and it's actually like, oh, burn me? Because it's so cold it actually feels hot. Yeah? So this is the temperament of Gopi Bhav, you know? Their love for Krishna is so deep that they actually become jealous or even envious to it. It actually manifests in that way because their love is so deep for Krishna. Yeah? So instead of feeling cold like ice, it feels hot. The ice feels hot. So similarly, their love for Krishna, it manifests through compassion, actually, the compassion of the gopis. But even then, they see these deers. They're offering their respects with their husbands. Yeah, what is it? The doe? The female deer is called the doe. Is that right? Yeah. So the doe, they're offering their respects with their husbands, and the gopis are feeling slightly envious because they're always having to sneak away, or they're always having to keep that meditation internally. They can't just go with their husbands to Krishna. Okay, so they have that temperament. Okay, so we can carry on reading unless anyone wants to comment or question. How are we doing for time? So should we have the next reader now? Just having a look. Who's the next reader?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Me. Oh, I haven't even changed my name of Urvadasi. Oh, I'll do that later.
No problem.
Another gopi said, "My dear friends, Krishna is so nicely dressed that he appears to be the impetus to various kinds of ceremonies held by the women folk. Even the wives of the denizens of heaven become attracted after hearing the transcendental sound of his flute. Although they are traveling in the air in their aeroplanes, enjoying the company of their husbands, on hearing the sound of Krishna's flute, they immediately become perturbed. Their hair is loosened and their tight belts are slackened. This means that the transcendental sound of the flute of Krishna extended to all corners of the universe. Also, it is significant that the gopis knew about the different kinds of airplanes flying in the sky."
Right, so here another gopi is describing two things about Krishna. So one is that because he's dressed so nicely, it invokes it invokes ceremonious behavior. Every day is like a ceremony, a festival. Srila Prabhupada would sometimes say that what is Vrindavan? He would describe what Vrindavan is very succinctly. And maybe this is, I don't know if this is from the Brahma Samhita, someone may be able to tell me. But Prabhupada would say that what is Vrindavan? Where every step is a dance, every word is a song, and every day is a festival. This is Vrindavan.
Wow.
Yeah? Every step is a dance, every word is a song, and every day is a festival. So this is Krishna consciousness, what Srila Prabhupada has brought for us. How amazing. So like that, Krishna's, but just by his dress, it was just such a ceremonious occasion. Just by his daily dressing. And so because he was so attractive, even the heavenly beings would come over, So you've heard of UFOs before, right? But it's not quite like this. Yeah? So there would be like heavenly spacecrafts coming over Vrindavan just to check out how cool Krishna looks. Right? So, and the gopis were noticing this. They would actually like, wow, look, spacecraft. Right? Not the kind of spacecraft you might see in sci-fi movies, of course. So what is it? How do the Vedas describe these aeroplanes flying in the sky? Does anyone know what the description is? The Vedas they refer to when the beings from other planets fly. They fly in a pushpa viman. Has anyone heard of that term? Yeah. No. Okay. So some of you have. What is pushpa viman? I can see Madhvi Mataji nodding her head.
Has it got anything to do with a bird? Pushpa.
Pushpa. Good guess. Anyone else? Yeah, you do see pictures as well. They're flying in like giant swans or different kind of birds they fly with. Yeah. So Lord Brahma, he flies on a swan. Yeah. Madhvi Mataji, would you like to share what Pushpa Viman is?
It's also decorated with scented flowers and all that. So you
Yeah.
different types of fragrant flowers and stuff.
Yeah, it's an airplane that's decorated with flowers.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So they would fly in these like beautiful vehicles. They're just like almost like a big flower flying through the sky. And wherever they go, there's this beautiful fragrance. You don't miss it. But Prabhupada goes on in other places to say that in this day and age, the demigods don't want to come here. In the age of Kali, nothing to see here. Move on. Or if they do come, they don't reveal themselves. They come in an invisible form. But in the previous times when there were sacrifices performed, if the sacrifices were done well, the devas would personally come and observe them. And they would come. And they would come and grant boons and that, they would come. So,
Hare Krishna.
yes, Prabhuji. Hare
Um,
Krishna.
Vrindavan every day is festival, as you said. So how I understand, because Krishna played unlimited pastimes.
Yeah. Reminds me of this song, and even what you were saying before about the dust of Vrindavan. Reminds me of this bhajan called Vrindavana Ramyasthana Divya Chintamani Dham. So that song describes Vrindavan very wonderfully. About how every day is a festival. All the precious gifts of Vrindavan. If you want to check that song out, maybe Jigna might be able to post it on the group later in the week. So it's called Vrindavan Ramyasthana. It's a very, very wonderful bhajan that describes Vrindavan in this way. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next paragraph then. Who's the next reader? So we'll just go skipping ahead because.
Madhavi Didi.
Sorry?
Madhavi Didi?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, okay.
Another gopi said to her friends, "My dear friends, cows are also charmed as soon as they hear the transcendental sound of the flute of Krishna. It sounds to them like the pouring of nectar, and they immediately spread their long ears just to catch the liquid nectar of the flute. As for the calves, they are seen with the nipples of their mothers pressed in their mouths, but they cannot suck the milk. They remain stuck with devotion, and tears glide down their eyes, illustrating vividly how they are embracing Krishna heart to heart. This phenomenon indicates that even the cows and the calves in Vrindavan knew how to cry for Krishna and embrace him heart to heart. Actually, Krishna conscious affection can be culminated in shedding tears from the eyes. Oh, wonderful.
Wow, I really love that paragraph. This might be one I cut out and stick on my wall. That's really amazing, huh? There's so much in there. So now the gopis are talking about cows. Okay. And so anyone who knows about Krishna knows that Krishna loves
Cows.
yay. Krishna loves cows. So much so that his planet is called
Golok.
Goloka. Yeah. Krishna doesn't have a planet called, well, sometimes we call it Krishna Loka, but actually the name of Krishna's planet is Goloka. He's named his planet after the cows. So much does Krishna love the cows. So the gopis didn't fail to notice this, of course. So I was just meditating on this earlier, right? So we've seen cows before, right? And this Indian breed of cows, you can maybe see them in the background on my picture. It's a bit small. They the desi cow, you know, they have a certain appearance, slightly different to our Jersey cow. I think it's called Jersey cow in Britain, right? So they have these long drooping ears, right? Just picture that. Have you seen those desi cows before, right? They have these long drooping ears, right? So there's a description of these ears when they hear the flute of Krishna. And what is that description? Over to you all.
Taking the liquid nectar of the flute.
Say it a little bit louder, please, Mataji.
Sorry, they trying to catch the liquid nectar of the flute.
Yes, trying to. They spread their long ears just to catch the liquid nectar of the flute. So yeah, just as Priti put it, just like, you know, doing, just standing up ears. So it's quite an image, right? If you just picture it, you know, like they're just going about their business, walking along, and then Krishna plays his flute. All of a sudden, frozen, the ears just stand up, right? So this is Vrindavan, an extraordinary place. And then this is the cows. So then, how about the calves?
Calves.
Yeah. So normally the calves are seen drinking the mother's milk. Yeah. But when Krishna begins to play the flute, then what happens?
They just get stuck there. Drinking
Yeah. I like the expression here. They get struck with devotion. It's like someone's just come over with a bat or something and just be like, bang, Krishna frame. You know? Probably nothing like that, but I mean that's the way my weird mind works. And they're just struck, you know, they've just been struck with this bhakti, with this love.
That means sound from flute taste at that time tastes better than the mother's milk.
Exactly, yeah. So there's nothing more dear to the child than his mother's milk, yeah?
Yeah.
Practically, young children, they cannot live without milk, yeah? It's amazing, like how children grow, isn't it? They don't need to take anything when they're very small, just the milk of the mother. And with that milk, they grow so big, isn't it? Right? Then when obviously they're older, they have teeth and everything else, then they have to eat so many different varieties of foods. But the power of the mother's milk, or this cow's milk, so powerful that it can, you know, has so much nutrition and so much value. Yeah.
And it's, you know why it's so powerful? Because that suits to any age.
Because, sorry?
Mother cow's milk.
Yeah.
For any age.
Can have it at any age, yeah.
Children, age and old age, but like buffalo milk, not for any age.
Okay. Yeah, so after we've had mother's milk from a very young age, then throughout the rest of our life, we'll generally drink the cow's milk throughout our life. Yeah, so important is the role of the cow in the Vedic culture, and specifically the milk, yeah, of the cow. So here, this point Prabhuji made very wonderfully is that the the calf drinking the milk has a greater taste in hearing Krishna's flute than even that milk. Yeah. And remember, this is a daily pastime. So every day their devotion is increasing, because it's understood that when you gain something spiritual, it's with you to stay. Okay? So if you chant Hare Krishna every day, that chanting you've done is to your eternal credit. Any spiritual activity you've done, any arati that you've attended, any donation you've given, anything you do in spiritual life is to your eternal credit. Not like daily karma, you do some activity, you burn off good karma, you burn off bad karma, you acquire good karma, you burn off. It's not like that. It's to your eternal credit. And every day the calves, they would hear, all the residents of Vrindavan would hear Krishna's flute, and still their devotion would increase, and still it would increase even further, eternally increasing devotion. They were struck with wonder every day when they heard Krishna's flute. Krishna was such an amazing flute player that every day they were like, wow, it wasn't the same old song. Yeah. And how would the cows and calves respond to hearing the sound of the flute? Sorry, I missed that. Did someone say the answer?
They taught us how to cry and embracing from heart to heart with Krishna.
Yeah. Really amazing sentence there, right? These phenomena indicate that even the cows and calves in Vrindavan knew how to cry for Krishna and embrace him heart to heart. Yeah. Yeah, so they knew how to cry for Krishna. This is such an important statement, I think. Yeah. In fact, I came across this quote by Srila Prabhupada. If I just read it, if you don't mind. So Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Devotion this statement: one should learn how to cry for the Lord. One should learn this small technique. He should be very eager and actually cry to become engaged in some particular type of service. This is called lolium, and such tears are the price for the highest perfection. Yeah? Such tears are the price for the highest perfection, Prabhupada says. Yeah? Such a powerful statement. So what is the price to go back to Krishna? We actually have to cry for him. We have to love him so much we cry for him. Yeah? So when we chant, Prabhupada sometimes would say, or famously Gaur Govinda Maharaj would say, we've opened a crying school. Yeah. So, you have different types of schools, different kinds of academies for sports, for dance, yeah, for literature, and so many different science and so many different subjects. So what kind of school did Srila Prabhupada open? A crying school. Right? We're all coming here to learn what? How to cry for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We should actually be crying when we chant Krishna's name. So that's the perfection of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, it's like Srila Prabhupada has said, when child wants something from mother, and the child cries, and to for the mother's attention, you know. So similarly, we should cry to Krishna for bhakti.
Yes, that's right. So Prabhupada in his famous address on the explanation of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he writes, we should cry just like a child is crying for the mother. Yeah. So this is exactly, these cows and calves, they're crying for Krishna exactly like that, with so much love. So it's kind of ironic how Prabhupada says, one should learn this small technique. Small technique. No big deal, right? A lifetime of practice though, for this small technique. So it doesn't mean crying in a fake or in a pretend way, crocodile tears. No, but it should be genuine. Small technique, Prabhupada says. So we'll get a chance to practice that in a few minutes.
Perfect example is Draupadi.
Yeah.
He was in a difficult situation, and he was asking help to from everyone, and she didn't get it. And in the end, he asked Krishna, but she cried actually.
Yeah, she called out for Krishna. And she had so many powerful people around her, so many supporters, or so-called supporters, who could help her. It's a really dramatic scene in the Mahabharata, isn't it? Draupadi, completely helpless. And because she was embarrassed, this led to the whole war of the Mahabharata. This led to the whole destruction of the dynasty. Yeah. But she after trying to call everyone and trying to hold her sari and protect herself, and eventually she just let go, put her hands in the air, which is where this stance comes from. She just gave up and just completely depended on Krishna.
A total surrender.
Total surrender, yeah. Yeah.
And Krishna appeared in the form of sari.
That's right.
He's unlimited.
Yeah, and in a moment as well. It wasn't like Krishna waited.
No.
Immediately, as soon as Draupadi surrendered, Krishna was there.
Otherwise, he was in Dwarka, wasn't it? Just flew like.
Yeah. So another great example of crying for Krishna. There's so many actually we could say. So Lord Brahma says, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. Very famous statement. Premanjana Charita. That our eyes should be decorated with tears when we chant. And in the Bhagavatam it says, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam it says, one who doesn't cry when they hear the sound of the holy name is said to have a heart made of stone. So you find these statements, So I certainly have a heart of stone, but because I don't cry when I chant my japa. But this is, the real standard of Raj Bhakti. Yeah.
Yes, I was listening Lal Govinda Prabhu's lecture, and he mentioned when you cry means you don't have to cry so much. If you cry, it's fine. But even if you cry with just one drop of a tear, from your eyes, and that's makes your life successful.
Yeah.
But just one tear
Just
of
one drop.
Yeah, just the one drop out of love. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of this this song. I can't remember the name of the title now. But this is a song about the Namahatta of Lord Nityananda. So Lord Nityananda, he gives the holy name. Chaitanya and Nityananda, they came as the avatars of Krishna and Balaram to give us this Hare Krishna mantra. And in this song it says how Gaura Bore Nitai De Sakale Sambal, that if someone calls out for Gauranga with even a drop of water in the eye, then that person is purchased by Lord Nityananda. So this means that Lord Nityananda, who is the giver of the holy names, he gives himself to that person. He becomes that person's servant. He gives everything to that person because he called for Gauranga with a drop of a tear in his eye. So actually I need to find the reference for that song. I don't know if anyone in the group knows that song. But that's so amazing, right? So just one drop of tear when one chants the Panchatattva mantra is the mantra we chant before we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Yeah? Because we don't feel these things when we chant, it's important to chant this Panchatattva mantra before we chant Hare Krishna. Very important. So that mantra, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Because we don't have that love that we're speaking about, right? Then we depend on mercy. Because we don't have that quality of heart. We depend on the mercy of the Lord to carry us. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, for anyone who takes shelter of me, I carry what they lack. He preserves what we have and he carries what we lack. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's very merciful. He will carry us back to Krishna because we're calling for him with mercy before we chant Hare Krishna. Because we don't have all these emotions. We don't have this type of attachment to Krishna. So it's so important to chant this Panchatattva mantra.
And that mantra protects our chanting, protects from deviation.
Yes, and the reason that we don't have this kind of love when we chant is because of our offense. We actually don't appreciate the holy name of God enough. So because of that, we are forgiven for any offense we have towards Krishna by chanting this mantra. As you say, Prabhu, this mantra protects us. So when we start to chant, then it's protecting us from our offensive attitude, or our laziness or inattentiveness when we chant. So very powerful and important to chant this mantra first.
Also, it gives a higher taste.
Yeah. All right. Do we have time for one more? I think so. So who's the next reader?
Another young gopi told her mother, "My dear mother, the birds who are all looking at Krishna playing on his flute or sitting very attentively on the branches and twigs of different trees. From their features, it appears that they have forgotten everything and are engaged only in hearing Krishna's flute. This proves that they are not ordinary birds. They are great sages and devotees, and just to hear Krishna's flute, they have appeared in Vrindavana forest as birds. Great sages and scholars are interested in Vedic knowledge, but the essence of Vedic knowledge is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Vedaisha sarvair aham eva vedyo. To the knowledge of the Vedas, Krishna has to be understood. From the behavior of these birds, it appeared that they were great scholars in Vedic knowledge, and that they took to Krishna's transcendental vibration and rejected all branches of Vedic knowledge. Even the river Yamuna, very much desiring to embrace the lotus feet of Krishna, after hearing the transcendental vibration of his flute, broke her fierce waves to flow very nicely with lotus flowers in her hands, just to present flowers to Mukunda with deep feeling.
Thank you, Mataji. Right, so here there are two more personalities described. So first is the birds, and then is the river Yamuna herself. So starting with the birds, again, they're not ordinary living beings. We should understand and be convinced that the residents of Vrindavan are not ordinary. Yeah, even the gopis themselves, who are the greatest devotees of Krishna, are not so audacious to say that we are the greatest. They're actually glorifying all these other creatures in Vrindavan and saying that they are more fortunate than themselves. So the gopis are revealing that these birds, although they may look ordinary, are actually great sages, isn't it? Yeah. So even to be a bird in Vrindavan is such a great thing, because they realize the highest truth. Yeah. That Krishna is the Vedas just say Vedas. So Krishna is to be known by the Vedas. So the purpose of the whole Vedic literature is to know Krishna. Yeah. And so they've had this opportunity to come into Vrindavan and see Krishna himself. And and Jiva Goswami, he explains on this point that it's like these birds are sages and Krishna is like their guru, because they were attracted by the Vedic knowledge to Vrindavan, these birds, because of course birds can fly from place to place. So these sages have taken the form of these birds, and they've been able to come to Vrindavan and hear Krishna's flute. So Jiva Goswami compares this to disciples who hear from the Guru. So the birds have come to hear Krishna's flute the way that a disciple would come to hear from the Guru. It's a very important statement. And so, yeah, we see that analogy in other places as well. So even Lord Brahma, how was knowledge imparted to him? In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, yes, Priti, did you want to?
Sorry, I thought it was when he did tapas, right? Through sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the creation even, Lord Brahmaji, he didn't know. He was born in darkness. Yeah? Oma Jnana Timirandasya. He was born in the darkness of ignorance. Even the creator of this entire universe, when he was born, he didn't know what to do. He was in complete pitch black darkness. And he found himself sitting on a lotus and he didn't know where to go or what to do, what his purpose in life was. Until he meditated and he heard the sound, vibration, tappa, 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 and he meditated on that sound vibration, which means austerity. And then by meditation, it's said in the Bhagavatam that Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaya, that he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam. He heard the Srimad Bhagavatam coming from Krishna's flute. He heard it within his heart. Tene Brahma Hridaya, he heard it within his heart. So in the same way, these sages, they're actually so fortunate. These birds, they're so fortunate. They're coming to Vrindavan to hear Krishna's flute. It's no ordinary thing. Even Lord Brahma, from hearing Krishna's flute, was empowered to create the entire universe. Such is the power of the sound of Krishna's flute. Yeah? And we're just at 9 o'clock now, so we can just finish with this short description of the river Yamuna. And what is mentioned about the river Yamuna by the gopis?
Hare Krishna, that she went against her nature. She sort of had fierce waves and she started to flow very nice and gently. And then I just wanted to ask at the same time, Mukunda, what does that mean? It's obviously a name for Krishna as well.
Yes. And that's quite significant as well, so I'm glad you picked on that. So she went against her nature, So we sing, this song. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. So that's a very beautiful scene, isn't it, this song? Yamuna Tira Vanachari. So it's a very beautiful flowing river, very mild and serene place. Yeah, is the picture this paints, this song. But here, when Krishna plays his flute, the river goes wild, as we're reading. But there's a purpose to that. And what is the river Yamuna? What is her purpose in this?
To offer flowers. Is
Spot
it?
on. That's right. Yeah, because when the rivers are raging, then they pick up everything from the banks. Yeah, so she's picking up all these flowers, and she's bringing them to Mukunda. And what does the name Mukunda mean? We've, I think, discussed this in the earlier chapters. So does anyone remember?
Face like a flower, like that muk.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then Gunda flower, I think.
that's exactly it. Yeah. So he has the face like a kunda flower. Krishna has. So someone who is as beautiful as a flower. Krishna is his face is as beautiful as a flower, as a mukha flower. So not only is it poetic, but it has this meaning that that Krishna, he has everything. He himself is as beautiful as a flower, and still the river Yamuna wants to offer him flowers. One who is as beautiful as flowers. Yeah. So this is important because what can we actually offer Krishna? What do we have that Krishna wants? What is it that Krishna needs from us? He doesn't need anything from us. He's not anxious to have anything from us. We can't give him anything that he doesn't have as such. So what is it that's in her offering, in the river Yamuna's offering, that's significant?
The deep feeling.
Yeah, sorry, who said that?
Apurva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with deep feeling. Yeah, it says here with deep feeling or with devotion. Yeah? So this is something that we can offer Krishna. This is the only thing actually we can offer Krishna. And this is very important. That one could be, a pujari in the temple, and or swaha, 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 make so many offerings in a yagya. But if there's no feeling, if there's no love there, there's really no point. Yeah. Still, we should try. Yeah. Because with quantity comes quality, it's said. And especially in regards to chanting, if we, someone might say, well, I can't chant more than 2 rounds or 10 rounds or whatever it is, because the feeling is just not there. But it's also said at the same time that the more you chant, the more the feeling will come, because Krishna purifies us. We're still in contact with him in his holy name or his divine service. So that feeling comes by being in touch with Krishna. So from quantity comes quality in regards to serving Krishna. Yes, Priti?
I'm not sure where I heard it, but I recently heard that even pure souls like sannyasis, they'll take like decades to just even get their mind focused on actual like chanting, like to be able to just meditate on that. So then to go further into the feel, it will take time. So it's not to like give it up. I mean, these are like really elevated souls, doing that journey. But it was very recent. I heard it from devotees. Don't know, forgotten where he said it, but yeah.
Yeah. So we're all at different stages, isn't it? This is the thing. But we're all on the same journey, right? To get back to Krishna, come back to Godhead. So no matter where we are along that path, keep continuing. Yeah, stay determined. Yeah. So yeah, with that quantity will come the quality. And also with mercy. So we were just discussing a little earlier that we need that mercy. So we should realize how much more we need the mercy. If we're not there yet, then we should be crying for that mercy more than anything, right? So in a famous lecture I heard from my spiritual master, he would say, if you're not crying for Krishna, then you should be crying that you're not crying for Krishna. And if you're not crying that you're not crying for Krishna, then you should be crying that you're not crying for Krishna. And if you're not crying that you're not crying for Krishna, then you should be crying that you're not crying for Krishna. So like that, he would really, really elongate the point. So this is your only hope. You have to cry for Krishna. And you should be crying that you're not crying for Krishna. Yeah. And that's our hope. And put that hope in Chaitanya and Nityananda, because they're very merciful. They've given us this Hare Krishna mantra, very easy way to get back to Krishna. Okay, so on that note, let's do a little bit of chanting together again for another week. Reading Krishna book has been very wonderful. This chapter is very heart touching, isn't it? So feel free to share any realizations, any thoughts you've had on to me or to the group. If you want to make any suggestions or comments, be appreciated. We didn't have so many people participate in the icebreaker today. Would have been nice to hear from more of you. So if you didn't think it was appropriate, please let me know. Or in any case, so thanks very much, everyone. Look forward to seeing you all next week, hopefully, and wishing that you all stay well. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Srila
you. Hare
Prabhupada ki
Krishna.
jai.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna,
Hare
everyone.
Krishna.
Thank you.